Welcome back to another Design League playthrough, and this one is in fact a re-record because for some reason there was music playing on this one, or I don't know, there are two I need to redo. One had music playing for no particular reason, and then the other one I think I uploaded the wrong file and then lost the original somewhere. So I've already played this one, which is a bit of a shame because you don't get to see my initial reactions as much as the others, and spoiler alert, this one's really good. We're in a Delta theme with like a boreal look, I think, which is cool. Like always nice to spin on these, and Delta's been used a lot for these sorts of things recently, which I think works really nicely. You can tell by the sandy texture. As you can see, we're clearly inside our 800 by 350 area, and there's a really cool like dunescape around it, which definitely lends some interest. So anyway, let's leap in. Now, apologies if I therefore speed through because I kind of trying to remember the things that I mentioned first time. I think first time I did mention that I liked this. I felt the camber was a little bit was it a little severe? No, it was good. But yes, I would have definitely extended the fairway down here a little bit more and flattened it out, because with where you're putting the bunker here, you don't want to be right anyway. So actually missing down here is kind of a half shot penalty in that you're coming in over that bunker to a tucked pin anyway, because your correct play is out left and challenging the bunker, which you've put in really nicely. So I think that was one. Planting wise, it looks really good. It's kind of unique in terms of what you've done. Maybe a little heavily planted here. I think you can get away with a little less. But yeah, otherwise liked this hole. Long par 4 to start with, which is always interesting. And I think I am quite happy to play it as far out to the left as I possibly can and try to open up that angle a little bit more. As you can see, the further left we go, the more we're going to be able to turn and get at that pin a touch. But what I do like here is you have given us, I mean, it's not a big one, and I'd prefer if you'd given us a little bit more of a way to get it to this pin, because there's no way we are landing it here and stopping it there. So yeah, gonna have to try playing. I mean, on the green would be great, frankly. But we'll try and play it into an area and just see if it works its way around. And hopefully there's that little slope that might just push it. Yeah, need a little bit more. But yeah, planting wise, I do feel it's a little bit patchy. Like, you could tie some of these bushes together a little bit more. Like, strings of bushes generally work better, where you almost take lots of bushes and make them into one big one, and just sinking them a little more than you are doing. Grass is a decent. I might like you to mix up the grasses a little bit more, but yeah, works as is. Hole design's worked really well. I mean, we've seen a lot of gentle openers in this contest. It's nice to see something a little bit different, if only for variety's sake. Still, make it through the par to start. Okay, second hole, and okay, we're now entering that junior section, and really interesting drivable-ish par 4. I think I had a different wind first time. I was able to actually bounce around the left, because kind of felt last time that this bunker is not a bad miss. I'll probably do the same again, but you have given us other ways of playing this. Like, we can lay up short here, we can lay out further right, and the way you've got the land filtering down this way is good, because we want to be there to kind of garner the best angle we possibly can, but there's that subtle punishment of falling back down here. Now I think generally drivable par 4, I'm looking for some sort of a big hazard around the green as to why not to go for it. And whilst I think this has got some, I really want to end up in the bunker, thank you. It's certainly not the most fiercely defended green. It's one that in real life you definitely wouldn't want this shot, but here, not the end of the world. That's an awful bunker shot, and yet we still got a, like, I wouldn't sniff at this for birdie if I'd been 100 yards away and really laid up. That's not a knock on the hole. I think it's well designed. Just a sad reality of how these holes play in game. But yeah, really cool green site as well. Just banked into the dunes is a nice change of pace from the first one, which was kind of foothills. We had that. This tee shot's a lot of fun. Like almost a bit sandbelty in how you've got the bunkers just emanating from your planted areas, and there's this little string of bunkers that I think you've done very nicely. Downwind. This, I mean, I've got a different wind to when I played it last time, and it's more interesting in terms of if I go too far left, I'm probably running into that. Although, no, I think I need to hedge my bets over to the right-hand side a bit more. That ain't. That's just about okay. And then this approach shot is brilliant. I think this is my favourite green site we've had so far in the contest, and people might wonder why, because there's nothing around it. But the land interest and where you're making me land the ball to try to work it onto the green, the fact that it kind of slopes, it's got this little spine in the middle that's shedding balls left and right, just works really, really well. The bunkers are placed where they might not look like they're influencing you, but they really are. Like this one to a front pin, I want to be landing it just about there. It's just subtle stuff that's done really nicely. Yet again, just not the approach shot we want at all. It's a shame, because that could have been the club. This is remarkably similar to how I first played this hole, where I was in great position off the tee and contrived to bogey it from awful shooting. I do like these little islands of planting you've done. Again, I still think a little bit overdone here with what you're putting in, but it works well. Like they're breaking up what would otherwise just be basic fairway pretty nicely. I will take a par compared to when I last played this hole. But again, a green site that's very different to the previous two. And then we come along this one. Now this one I played downwind last time, and it was a scary tee shot that you're hitting straight at this trouble. I mean, and I think last time I ended up down in the trouble and then bailing out short right because I thought it was a better option than going long. Like this course, because of where you've put your hazards, it plays really interestingly with different winds, which I think is it's a really good test of whether a course is really good or not. So yeah, apologies to those of you whose courses I haven't managed to play twice. Believe you me, it was not it's not me wanting to redo a review I'd already done. And that might be a little bit too much. It's great to see what you've done with the texturing back here as well. And the little path is a nice touch. Maybe a little bit stark with the texture you've used, but there's not much more you can do. I might be tempted to use heavy rough for that path, because if you do it really patchy, like tiny little brushes, you can come up with something really nice through there. About there. I need a little less. Alrighty, par 4 next. Oh yeah, so this one we had these two hazards, which were placed really nicely in conjunction with the green side ones. So we want to be challenging this side a little bit more, but obviously that's the tighter line. Bail out here and you're coming in over those bunkers. Although you have given us this nice helping slope here. So that's working well. I think we just take aim at that bunker and hope that we get a fast. There we go. Pulled it a little bit left as well deliberately. So I did like that this is slightly blind as well. I think it makes sense if you've bailed out, so you've got that little penalty. Something like this will do, I think. Not the shot I wanted. Still. And again, like a different-ish green site, like more playing directly into the heart of dunes. Like similar, so it feels cohesive, but slightly different as well. Greens have been really interesting as well. I haven't really commented on that as much with this one. I'm trying to think if there was anything like there was so much of this I really liked. It's easy to say that stuff again. I'm trying to think of all the things, like any nitpicks I might have had. And this one's more in the vein of that third green site. That one just down there where it's at the base of the dunes. And I think you varied them really nicely. It's our only par 3. And you're giving us options of how we get there, which is tough to do on a par 3. But basically saying, do you want to try to stick the ball and like, okay, with elevation you've got to factor in and just land it, or you can try to land it short and bounce it on a little bit because the land rolls down a little bit. And what I like that you've done, people might see this as a hazard, I don't really see it as such. The fact that you've put this bunker here tells me, it gives me a bit of a signal of like, well, why is this so far away from the green? Oh, it's because landing it here might be a good move. I think that's something really nicely done. Great views over the rest of the plot. That's not a good swing. Ooh, we were not here before. Hopefully that just rolls on and stops. Stops would be good. It's not too bad. I don't think there was much I didn't like about this one. I remember thinking the first was a little bit severe, but I kind of feel differently now. There's not much to critique. Like, what I think surprised me the most about this one, first of all, was I remember going in not knowing who the designer was. Whereas this time I kind of coming in knowing what I'm expecting, so having played it before. What's really pleasing is it's still impressed. I'm playing the same pin as well, but it still impressed me as much second time round, which is good. It's played differently in that different wind, which I think is key too. So hopefully that's given you a few things to take away, but I don't really have that much to add. I just think it's really well done and interesting. Like it's an early contender for me. Look, best of luck and see you in the next contest.